Kunal with us, Kunal Thanvi. Kunal is my cousin, and this is what we are doing for the very first time. I never did it before, and I feel very uncomfortable coming in front of the camera. So does Kunal, I guess. So we have Kunal. Kunal is a CA, chartered accountant, and he reads a lot of books. This is the reason I'm putting him on this show. और यही कारण है कि वो इस शो पे है और मैं पर्सनली इतना बुक्स नहीं पढ़ पाता हूँ. आई ट्राई अलॉट बट मुझसे नहीं हो पाता. And I am seeing Kunal from a very long time. He always keeps a book with him. Mostly he tries to read as much as he can, and that's what I really like about him. I really wanted to know his perspective about this thing. That what how does it feel to read a lot? Okay, I really want to just imbibe this habit in me, but मुझसे होता नहीं है यार. I get very tired. So Kunal, over to you. Like, tell me.
Hey, hi,
Tell me
Karan.
something
Thanks.
about books.
Hey, hi, Karan. Thanks for having me here. Yeah, I'm not sure whether I'm the right person for you. Because of course I read a lot, but I'm not sure. I'm still, on a stage where I should talk about it because I'm still learning. But
No, this is the reason the show is only about commons people. Okay, it's just a book of commons. This is the reason I put the show named as a book of commons, so we can, the commoners can come in front of the camera and they talk about their story.
sure.
So yeah, it just, I really wanted to know. We can start with yourself. Like, I really doesn't like to, I really don't like to make questions, but for you especially I did it. And मेरे को लगता है कि यार questions बहुत जरूरी है, because books की बात हो रही है और लिखना ना हो तो
Yeah,
फिर
yeah. Yeah,
सही
so
नहीं रहता.
how you want to do it?
ठीक है. So
Let's start with few things that you have in your mind.
I wanted to know, like, when did you start reading? Because for me it was always hard. मेरे लिए अभी भी उतना ही मुश्किल है. मैं जब भी कोई book खोलता हूँ, I really like to read in Hindi, but जब ये English में होती है तो मैं यार बहुत जल्दी, मतलब मेरे लिए टायरिंग हो जाता है. तो how did you start? What was your first book? और तुमने कैसे start किया था इस पूरे process को, reading को basically?
Yeah, so like if you were to ask me when I started reading, it's like मेरे को 2012-13 याद आता है. Like that's when I was on the verge of completing my studies, and at that point of time I thought, I was pretty sure that I wanted to go for equity research, or say fund management as my profession. And I came to Mumbai after clearing my exams, and you know I went for an interview actually, and there my interview was so bad. The interviewer just tear me apart like anything, and I realized that I'm like, there was a big requirement to reinvent myself. So I realized that I cleared my exams, but I was nowhere, man. So the difference between the practical life and the theoretical life was there in front of me. They just tear me apart, and after coming back to home I was like, man, this was me. I cleared my CA exams, and I was on a cloud nine, and then all of a sudden I was on the road, like trying to make sure that my clothes are on my body. And it was a bad experience, but that got me thinking one thing, that in order to be competitive, or in order to be where you really want to be in your life, you have to learn things way ahead of others, and you have to be like really candid about what you don't know, right? And that's when I pushed myself into thinking what are the things that I should do to be better version of myself. And that's when it came about, like what I understood, that if you were to look at the history of successful people, if you were to look at the history of strong personalities across the world, you'll find one thread common. Like, they have been learning a lot. And how they learn by reading a lot. So it's like, there's a saying, right? Experience is the name that human beings would give to their mistakes. So in general, you would learn by doing something wrong. Like, right, for example, I would have told you, say, when you were 12, that don't make a girlfriend, you'll end up breaking your heart. But at the age of 12 to 15, nobody would understand it. They'll understand at 18 when they actually get into that breakup, right? The same way.
Point.
But if you were to take my advice that day, it would have been easier for you. You know, you could have saved your heart. So it's like, rather than doing your own way and, you know, taking the learning things by doing mistakes, you know, there's this great idea about vicarious learning. What does that mean is, you know, you learn from the experience of others. You know, we are
Okay.
very lucky
Okay.
in terms of, you know, of the fact that आज like आज से 100 साल में बहुत सारे बड़े लोगों ने बहुत सारी बड़ी बड़ी चीजें की है और बहुत सारी गलतियां भी
Hmm.
की हैं. And
Hmm.
for us, we are lucky कि वो लोग ने, या either they have gone for a biography or autobiography, and you can just go to them and, you know, read them and learn out of it what are the things that you don't want to do and what are the things that you want to do. So that's where, you know, I started in somewhere between 2013-14, and my
Point.
first book was One Upon Wall Street. It is, you know,
Okay.
there's a famous fund manager in US. There was a famous fund manager in US called Peter Lynch.
Okay.
So that was my first
Okay.
book. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I really like the way you talked about this part. Ki, the coming next year, how many people like they made mistakes and all those things. So there is one thing that I always follow. I like to talk to people who are doing something great in their life, and they are just age wise they are just we have a 10 years of age difference. Okay, so
Sure,
I
sure.
talk to those kind of people. I like to talk to them because their 10 years of experience will be imbibed in one, in that one advice,
Yeah. So
so you
that's,
can learn from them.
yeah, yeah.
And
So that's
so
where I'm coming from,
those
right?
10 years they have spent for that particular advice, you will be learn in one day, you will be learning the end up learning in one day. So
Sure.
that was really great. So I, from that day I started just following people who are doing, like, there is a saying that if you want to be a successful, try to make a circle and be around successful people, you will end up becoming just like
Sure,
them.
sure.
It's
Yeah.
exactly, it goes exactly like exactly with any kind of a person, right?
Yeah.
If you want to be just even let me say, it's very jarring to say that if you want to be alcoholic, then just go and go with such people. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, I really like the way you explained this thing. And just there is another thing, one thing I wanted to know from you. So yeah, it's just very, I know maybe usually people don't keep a track, like I don't keep a track how many videos I have created till yet. I'm just asking you if you know it, like how many books you have read till yet. uh,
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. So when I started reading books, so in the first year, right, I had set. The first book took some 3 weeks. It was a very difficult
okay.
read for me. But all of a
Okay.
sudden, you know, after completing 3 books, so the thing was, before I got employed, right, I was unemployed for 3 months. You know, in a city where I didn't had any friends, and in a city
Okay.
where I realized that I'm, you know, I have to reinvent myself. So in those three
Point.
months, I ended up reading some 20-25 books, and I, you know, set a target of 50 books for that year. So I ended up doing some 35-40 books, and from then on, you know, the thrust is to complete at least 2 books of, you know, 2 weeks, like a one book per week. But there are times when, you know, you are
Okay.
caught up with work, you may, you know, end up doing one book in
Point.
2 weeks, or in some, you know, days it would be like, you know, hey days for you when you may end up doing two big books a week. So it's, so you can do the math. So 30 books is what we generally target, like at least 30 books, but I
See,
don't
there is a lack of studying comes in front of you, right? So yeah. Okay. So it's too much, man. If I imagine myself reading so much that I think I could have be an IITN or something, which I am not. So I don't feel like go to that part because so आई नो ये बहुत ही ज्यादा है, मतलब मैं तो इमेजिन नहीं करता हूँ इतना कुछ कि मैं कर पाऊंगा या कर सकता हूँ. But I really want to, like, want to know, like, how it has changed you. Like, is there any particular way that when you started doing it, you started seeing changes in yourself? या फिर ऐसा
Yeah,
हुआ
of
कि
course,
वो
man.
कोई एक बुक थी जिसने बहुत कुछ बदल दिया, या होता है ना कि यार वो एक वीडियो है जिसने मेरी पूरी लाइफ बदल दी, ठीक है, और या फिर
So
वो
Yeah.
सेट ऑफ वीडियोस थी जिनकी वजह से मैं बदल गया या फिर मेरी लाइफ चेंज हुई कि मैंने एक सेट ऑफ मैं जैसे ही वही है कि बुक्स के साथ भी यही सीन है कि बहुत सारी बुक्स पढ़ी तो मैं चेंज हो गया, या एक बुक ऐसी थी जिसने मतलब चेंज तो बहुत सारी बुक्स ने किया, बट एक बुक वो थी जिसने बहुत ज्यादा इम्पैक्टफुल रही मेरे लिए।
Yeah. So
तो
basically,
टॉक अबाउट दोस थिंग्स।
yeah. So basically, yeah, you are right. So the thing is that it's always, when we are talking about vicarious learning, right? It will always be a slow step, steady thing, kind of, things coming in your head. You learning out of it. You trying to implement those things in your life. You fail sometime. Get say 50% of what you are trying. So it's a long process. It has helped me in a lot of ways. So it has made me more, risk averse. It has made me, more conscious about what is happening in the world, and how we as human beings have evolved in many spheres of life. So when you see something, you can always, relate it to something that you have already done. So that's a
ओके
continuous process. But the biggest, the biggest impression, or maybe the biggest change that came about, was from a book called, that's my favorite book, written by Mr. Peter Babylon. It's like, all I want to know, where I'm going to die, I will never go there. So the book talks about things that you should not do. So it's like,
ओके
there's a saying that, if you were to, win 90% of the population in the world, all you have to do is not be stupid, राइट. अगर आपको आज की तारीख में, जब यू आर सीइंग अ लॉट ऑफ कोरोना, COVID-19 is at the peak, right? If you were to make a list of things that you should not do, and if you just follow those, you will end up not having COVID, right? So it's like,
पॉइंट
and that's how I view my entire life now. So if you were to ask me, you know, Kunal, you want to do a broadcast with me? I have the list in my head, or the checklist. What are the things that I have to not do in that podcast? So I will always think inward rather than thinking, straight. So how does it help is, you will always end up not doing obvious mistakes. So as a human being, you would
ओके
always do mistakes, right? You are not insulated to, not doing mistake or not being idiot sometimes. But there are some obvious ones which, you can easily, eliminate if you just think about it. So whatever I do
ओके
in my life, I'll just put down, I'll, step back for a while and think about it and see what are the things that I don't want to do in this thing, right? And then, so that's the biggest, or the life changing, or maybe, thought process changing book that, made me think differently than I was thinking, say 5 years or 10 years before today. Yeah.
ओके ओके। तो जिस तरीके से मैं इसको देख रहा हूँ, आई थिंक इफ आई वांट टू जनरलाइज दिस पर्टिकुलर टर्म, इट्स कॉल्ड प्री प्लानिंग, राइट? So that's what I see. Like if you really want to do such things and do not, like you should not do such things, then you can pre-plan all those things, right? It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
And it's
So
like
it
I
is.
think it's a way bigger than this, but it's just
Yeah.
this is the way I am seeing it. But I need to read the book for the
So
for the
so so
you know
the
further information.
the risk with using that term is, when you say pre-planning, people may, sleep and think about things that they want to do in their life.
Point.
That's a recipe to failure, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Rather than, naming it pre-planning, what I would say is things that you don't want to do. You need to have a list of,
Okay.
say, I don't want to, be rash in spending. That is a
Okay,
no,
okay.
no.
So it's like things you should, like you should not do.
Yeah, you
Kind
should
of.
not
It's
date a
it's not
girl.
like I am.
You should
Okay,
not
got it, got
date
it.
date a girl. You should not, so it's like, I'll give a very small and easy example. If
You're
I'm a,
just putting too much impact on not dating a girl. I mean, like seriously, why? Just
because I know from my experience, that you'll end up,
okay.
losing your heart. So it's,
Yeah,
so let me put a very simple example to it, for the,
sure.
for your viewers. So if I'm a, student, I'm studying in class 8, and I'm not studying, and if I don't study, I'll fail the class and I have to repeat the class. So uh, the only thing that you have to not do is study, like not study, right? If you don't study, you'll
Yeah.
fail. So you need to know
Point.
that basic thing, that the most stupid thing that you could do, to fail is not study. So it's like
Point.
getting
Point.
what are the very basic things out of your, so the probability of getting wrong in things will come down drastically. So that's
Okay, so
how.
it's kind of a reverse engineering,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
invert,
in
always
a
invert.
very specific way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's in a very specific way. I really like this thing. I mean, I should read this book. This is I most of the books gives me very it just puts me into some state of mind that I should read it, but then coming days I don't even read it. So because I am like
Yeah, yeah.
yet to develop this habit in me. And so moving on, like I want to now I'm gonna go with some crazy incident that you if you want to share, like related to book, like if you were in a library or somewhere you were going for
Oh
book
my
or
god.
somewhere going with a book, anything
Yes,
which was
there are like lot of incidents. My incident is like a crazy one actually. So what happened? After 3 months of unemployment, I was like, I've read so much thing, and I really was addicted to reading. Right? So
okay,
it was like
okay,
when I used to enter office, I was reading. When I was having lunch, I was reading. So it was like that kind of, it was kind of nirvana that got to me. I was like, man, I've got something in life that I was. So it was a parallel world for me, right? Before
okay,
getting into the habit of reading, I used to look at life from a very different point of view, and it just changed, and it was changing
okay,
with every passing day. So I had a list. So
okay,
one of my mentor gave me some uh, his library books, and and he gave a deadline. He said, you have to complete it within this period, otherwise I'll take the books again from you. So I was like crazy, and I didn't even realize the fact that I, everybody was judging me like anything, left, right, center. Like there were girls, there were guys, they were like, I looked so boring to them that they started talking about me like that, this guy is like so boring and stuff. And that was one part of the story. The second part was, I used to stay with my bua at that point of time, and uh, the way I used to travel was, in the morning I used to take a bus to the office, and in the evening I used to take a local, and then from the station I used to walk back to the apartment. So one fine day, I was, going back from the station to the apartment in the evening, and I had this Kindle in my hand, and I was reading on the road. And that was my general habit. In the evening, I used to read the Kindle because of the light, and in the morning, I used to have a physical book. So my habit is always to have two books at a go, so I don't get bored. So that point of
okay,
time, someday I don't know how, I went across the road, man, and I didn't realize that I'm walking uh,
okay.
on the road in Mumbai, and at 8 p.m. in the evening, when it's on the peak of its traffic, and this guy in the motorcycle came to me, and he almost kissed me, man. He was like shouting
Oh
and
shit.
saying some stuff in Marathi. I didn't even understood what he was saying, and he said, and he was like, so the only thing I understood was he was abusing me like anything, and he would have slapped me if I would have not said a sorry to him. So I was very quick to apologize and say, man, I was not in my senses. I'm done. I'm sorry. I won't do this again. But
Shit.
unfortunately, that was the everyday story. I would, generally
Uh,
bump to someone on the station because I was so lean in my reading. So that's a, I take care of these things these days because of what now I, try to have a podcast instead of reading a book when I travel. So people don't kill me, right?
okay, okay, okay. So moving on, like this is very funny, man. I mean, I remember doing doing the exact same thing with the phone. I
Yeah,
was about to just fall from somewhere, and I was looking at the phone. And at that time, even I was looking for some video, some amazing cinematic video. So yeah, it was some documentary because I like to watch documentaries a lot. So yeah, so moving on, I really wanted to know, like, if if I start reading, recently lately I start reading something. So what were your experiences at that time when you started, like very very first experiences that you faced at that time? So
yeah.
what generally if somebody starts, ऐसा क्या है जो उनको मिलेगा देखने को starting में. So this is something I really wanted to know.
Yeah, so it's a very actually it's a very subjective thing, like right. You cannot.
Okay.
It's very difficult to generalize, but for the sake of doing it, what I would say is, when you start with a book, right?
Hmm.
If when you read first, when you read for the first 5 minutes, you would know whether you want to finish the book or not. So it's like, to start with, you should
Okay.
never start with a book or the topic that you don't like. So, just to give you a backstory, before I came to Mumbai, right, and I got this nirvana for those 3 months, I tried reading one of my, second favorite book, or maybe Bhagavad Gita for my investing journey, that is, Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. So this book I tried reading when I was in my hometown when I was studying. I didn't like the book
Okay.
at all. So it was like I read some 20 pages and I was off. Man, I can't do it. It's so boring. But then when
Okay.
so then I started with something that was more relatable to me. So I have always been fan of people who have done well in their life, right? And so that draws you to someone's story, and you want to. So for example, you are a storyteller, right? So for you, I would suggest, if a person who likes hearing or telling stories, he would be interested in reading stories as well, because it's just a different medium of getting it. So for example,
Point.
so when I started with that One Upon the Wall Street from Peter Lynch, that guy was telling a story in a very easy manner. He made investing simple for me, and that was the crux of getting to it. And once you get that habit of completing one book or two books, then it's a then you explore yourself. It's like you started with something else. Today you're doing a podcast, so it's like a different genre for you as well, right? That's the
Yes.
same case
Yes.
with reading as well. So you start with a genre that you like the most, you try yourself out, and then you know then you explore the genre. And one more thing that is interesting to do is you discuss this with someone. So when you read a book, or maybe
Point.
you are halfway down, you talk to someone who has already read the book. That gives you a
Yeah.
sense of motivation, and it helps you in finding that big idea in that particular book. For example, I'll just quote my friend here. So this guy from my hometown, he has been a nerd. Like he has been a nerd. He's very intelligent, but he never tested his he never explored reading a book. So we were on a trip somewhere sometime last to last year, and he realized the fact that I was reading in the when we were traveling. So he asked me what you're reading and stuff. I told him, boss, I really like reading, and I've got this habit of reading a lot. So he told me that he also want to read, but he's not able to read because he has not got the persistence to really complete the book. He would start it and then stop it and stuff. So I told him, you as a child has always liked history and successful people. So start with a book called Everything Store. That is a story of Jeff Bezos of Amazon. So he started
Okay.
with that, and he really liked it. Then he went to other great guys in the world, and then he realized the fact that he has got fascinated by it. So in
Okay.
last 2 years we have discussed a lot of books, and this guy is he's like in terms of biographies and autobiographies, he's way ahead of me now, because my
Okay.
genre has shifted to different kind of books. I would read some self-help books, I would read religious text as well. So that guy but has got his genre, and he is excelled a lot more than me in that. So if you name a successful guy or a big failure across the across the world, he'll come up with the story. So it's like
Okay.
you have to really, if you really want to get into reading, then you have to figure out what are the things that you like, and take that topic and take a book out of it. So for example, last year I had some health issues, right? So I thought I don't want to go to a dietitian, I'll read a book instead. And that motivated me way more than going to a dietitian.
It always does.
Yeah.
So I will just enhance this part where you said, like, the kind of books usually what kind of people, what kind of book usually people like to read. It just depends on the kind of person you are, right? So I just wanted, what kind of books you like to read. What is your favorite stuff, what is your favorite genre. So that's something you can always read anything. If something is into that genre, you can take any kind of book and you can start reading. What is your favorite stuff?
So yeah, so I've never actually thought about it because fortunately, I've read most of the genres. But the best, or maybe a book that I can complete in say 1 day or 1.5 days, a story of some successful guy, which is either an
Okay,
autobiography or a biography,
okay,
and it
okay.
has to be someone who has done excellent in his business or in his life. So that's one area I know. And then of course my favorite of the favorite, like the book that maybe some people would find it funny, but I really like Bhagavad Gita. That's my
i
favorite
i
book. Yeah,
I heard a lot about it.
yeah,
I guess I am going to read it. This is going to be the first book I'm ever going to read it,
yeah.
and
So
I'm planning to do it like very soon, maybe tomorrow or maybe day after tomorrow. I was just planning to do it. So yeah, last time I came to your place, I remember you were just reading the Domino's guy story, right? Tell me one good thing about this book and tell me the one worst thing that you, worst or bad or not likable kind of a thing that you find.
yeah, so in terms of, so that's a like superb story about how Domino's came into being and what were the best things that they did about. So this was the guy who challenged the existing business model. So it's like the pizza. Nobody would have ever thought that you can standardize the taste of a pizza. So
Okay.
historically, like every state or every city would have a different kind of pizza, and pizza was a dining thing globally. Like the biggest player in the world was Pizza Hut, which is Taco Bell, right? And they had this grand restaurants where you go and have dinner with the family or friends, etc., etc. This guy said, "Boss, I am not a restaurant. I am a pizza delivery guy. What I have to do is, I have to make sure that I make good pizza and I make it available anywhere and everywhere people want to eat. So from going out to getting in is what he did. So what we are seeing today, like Zomato, Swiggy, people would order things and have at their home. This guy was smart enough to think ahead of the time, say 30, 40 years, maybe 60 years from now. So this guy realized the fact that people would prefer buying it and having at home, and rather than coming out every day. So it's like you can replace their meal. And for me to
Point.
go to a Pizza Hut, I would figure out the day when I want to go. But for food to come at my place, I can eat it any day, right? And and
Right.
and in the process, what happens is that his cost of running that business is very low. So he's like significantly profitable as compared to other guys.
Point.
So
Point.
so it's
Point.
like he was way ahead of others in thinking that. And one thing that I don't like about the business about this book is they're not talked about India, man. I was like looking
Okay.
forward to the fact that they'll talk about something about my country, but they never did. So that's what I didn't like.
Even like population wise, we are just doing wonders.
Yeah, and that also comes from the fact that that is a book that was written some time back. Now India is like one of the largest market for Dominoes. So maybe next version would have India in
Point.
the
Point.
top,
Point.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it should be there. Because I don't know, I just should be there. I feel great whenever I see India. Even I like to see Indian credits in the movies. Like I was just seeing credits of the Marvel Endgame, and I was like, where is Indian, where is Indian? And I was like, whoa, it's there. Like we are there everywhere. So yeah, tell me. Okay, so if someone gives you a choice, in your entire life, if you are living at a place where you are given only three choices of book you can pick up, and you can have it with you for the entire life, then what three books it will be and why?
And why? Oh, that's a tough one, man. So yes,
Okay.
first would of course be Bhagavad Gita. because
Okay.
Bhagavad Gita to me is like, it's something that moves you, man. Like, the ultimate thing. So it's like why we live our life, right? We live our life to know and to grow, and to know you have to go to. So it's like, if I'm knowledgeable, right, and I'm teaching you, it's a hypothetical example, I'm not doing that. If I'm teaching you and there's this other guy who wants to learn, either he can come to you and learn from you, or he can directly come to me. If he comes directly to me, then there's a higher probability that he would learn better, right? So that's
Point.
Bhagavad Gita for me. Like, anything, everything that I want to learn, be it, personally, professionally, that's just start and the end point for me. I'll go there, I learn, and I'll come back. So I might have read that book, text at least 15 times, and I keep
I
on
really
reading
need
it.
to have a
Yeah,
look
so
into this.
yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
cool.
one.
I mean, nice. Okay. Second.
And then, of course, as I indicated earlier, I am a big fan of Charlie Munger and Buffett. And this
Okay.
book called All I Want to Know, where I'm going to die, I will never go there. That is the second one. And third is, it's a it's a very interesting book. If you were to start reading, I would suggest you to read that as well. It's How to Get Lucky. So
Okay.
this is a book that bursts the notion that some people are luckier than others. So the key idea from
Okay.
this book is, is the fact that, to be lucky, you need not have any special charm. All you have to do is, you have to be at right place at right time. So it's like, if you're not doing
Okay.
this podcast, you cannot be lucky, right? If I'm not reading my book, I cannot be lucky to learn anything. So to
Point.
be lucky, you have to be there, and you have to be there at time. So you have to be, so it's not that, बॉस कल सुबह मेरा एग्जाम है, मैं कल नहीं आऊंगा, मैं परसों आके एग्जाम दूंगा. You cannot be lucky like that, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Point. Point.
So so
Nice.
these are the three books that I would die with.
Okay, so I mean, this question is really. I think you have really talked about it in your previous questions. Like, but if I want to specify, okay, if I want to specify this thing, that what will be the three or five or one step to just keep the consistency of reading books. Okay, uh, like I really want to start reading, then I feel it's tiring, I feel sometimes it's boring, even though, like, is what will be the three steps or five steps or one step to just keep that consistency while I'm getting into reading, while I'm going to start, like I'm just a beginner. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah. So I'm not sure how it would help. The three things that I comes to my mind. I've never thought about it honestly, but to my colleagues who want to read, and we discuss a lot about it. And three things that I am a strong believer of that could really help one read, cultivate a reading habit is, uh, you need to have an objective to it, to start with,
okay,
why you want to read. So it's like, you will find some people who would read just to kill time, right? And then in those cases, you need they would end up reading something that don't occupy their head. It would be some story or some fiction, etc., etc. But if you have an objective to it, right, like, if you, so for example, people I know, read to improve their language. They want to improve their English.
yeah,
So then you may end up reading these novels or fiction stories, which are very easy read. You don't have to apply your mind. And uh,
okay,
they are, they brings that anxiety to you. So it's like a movie, to people. Because when you read, say a romantic novel or a thriller, etc., it will bring some image to your head, and it would be easy for you to read. But if your objective
point,
is to learn, or if your objective is to learn from others, or if your objective is to broaden your gaze, so it's like, there's a famous saying that you need to have, uh, you need, in any profession you are. So, for example, if I'm in finance, it's not just finance that I should know. So, as a human being, I should know things from every sphere of life, like, uh, you know, uh, be it film industry, be it podcast, be it fashion, be it physics, be it chemistry, be it biology. Like every sphere I should have at least base knowledge of every thing that I come contact with. So it's like if there's some emergency, I should know what's happening around, man. Because that's the so for me it's a hygiene factor. So it's like
Okay.
if my car breaks down, I should be aware what has happened to that car. Otherwise, I won't be able to get it right. So if your objective is that then you have to figure out what are the areas where you want to really learn and you have some interest in. You start with
Fine.
those books with a predefined objective. That's one. Second is you discuss your books with someone, like you maybe over a blog or maybe over a over a WhatsApp or maybe over a call. You just discuss it. If somebody is not listening to you, that's fine. So you take a stab and complete a book and then take one key idea of it. So every book would have one key idea out of it, right? You have to in your head try and get that key idea and discuss it with someone. And trust me, that will do wonders to you, because when you tell someone something, you are registering that in your head, like and that you helps you in implementing those things to your own life. And third is very difficult, but good way to make sure that you keep your effort going is make notes out of it. Like in my early days, I used to make some presentations on the books that I read and circulate around to have both positive and negative feedback from people who
Wow.
read a lot. So these are the
This is
three
really
things
good.
that could help people who are starting with.
Fine. Okay. And if I'm the person who never read any kind of thing, and I'm planning to just buy my first book. So what will be that first book? What will be the first book that you will suggest? If I want to start this, and because this is just like selling the first car of my company, or maybe the pizza, or maybe the first meal of the restaurant. From there, I will decide I'm going to commit or not. Come to you again
So
and not.
I'm
So
not sure I can boil down it to one, because the way I look at you specifically is that you are kind of person who would if you want to read, you can read anything and you can do anything. Like I have a term called Lollapalooza for you. There are some kind of people in the world who can do flips, like they can do anything in the world. So I'm not sure it's if it was specific to you, but for someone who wants to start, How to Get Lucky is a very easy read and it's very relatable.
okay,
Like I think Max Cutter is the author of the book How to Get Lucky. It's a very relevant
okay,
and a very debatable topic, because you would find your cousins telling you that "Sala tu lucky hai, इसलिए तू जीत गया." Correct? Maybe in your video games or in
yeah,
cricket or in any
happens,
other game.
happens. बहुत होता है,
So
बहुत होता है.
and same for if you get a smart or beautiful wife, somebody would tell you, man, you are lucky you've got this wife. So
Point,
so that book busts the notion of being lucky. It tells you who is lucky and who is not. So that is
point.
interesting book for someone to start.
Nice. I mean, we are just ending up, like wrapping up. This is not about books. This is about, like, I'm generalizing it. Like, it's just only for you as a person. Like, you are just now you are a CA, okay? And if you are not a CA in your life, where you think you could be?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
So I remember, like, the person who can do anything in their life. I used to see you guys in my life, you and your your brother. I used to see you guys to, who can do anything. Like, you guys are good at studies. You guys are doing good performance in our home marriages. And because this was, I see, I the day when I left home, I always wanted to learn a lot. Okay, I wanted to do something. So I wanted to be be a person who can stand with anything. So
Hmm.
I remember, like, I wanted to do this thing. This is the reason I developed this thing, that I can do anything in my life. if you'll give me guitar, piano, I can play that. If you want me to make music, I can do that. If you will give me a piece of writing, I can just complete that. That's a different thing. Okay, that's something I wanted to do. But when I saw you studying, I never like thought of any other thing that you can do beyond music and dance. That was just for fun. You were never passionate about such things. You were just having fun with it, as I the way I think it. I don't know
Mhm.
how exactly
So,
it was
of
for
course,
you.
man, of course, if you talk about being an artist, it's a no-no zone for me for sure. I never
Okay,
had the ability, capability, or skills to do it,
okay,
neither the interest. So I used to do it just for
okay,
fun, right? And
okay,
the if I were not a CA, like it's a very difficult question to answer because it's not about CA anymore. Because
okay,
I'm doing something today which I would have done if I was CA or not. Because my over the years, what I've realized is that my passion is to understand new things. And when I say new things, it is mostly new businesses. Like
okay,
so I would have maybe joined my dad's business or maybe have some started something on my own. But it is
okay,
always about making good money. Um,
okay.
you may cut it because it may sound but that's fine. Like that's how I
Cool.
look at it. And there's some
Cool.
scope in my writing. I used to like my writing, but people don't like it. But I'm fine with it.
I because it was so hard to read for most of the people. Like it was not like not for any another person in this planet. There is a specific audience for such piece of writing. And when I see you, I felt that thing that like the way you just said right now today. If you are a CA or if you were not, there is another thing that you found what you're doing today, right? Like finding new businesses. So that's how, like, when you start doing something, then you find there is a sub niche of every niche, right? So you find a niche of doing something, then you find a sub niche of it. That
Yeah,
yeah, I like to make films, but then I like to make only documentary films. So there is a difference, right?
sure.
So that's something like I remember, like, the way you just said it, it's just so great that that you did CA. But then again, I'm so happy that you're not only talking about being CA. You talk about finding new businesses is a kind of thing that a lot of people maybe like to do. So yeah, that's something really great. And yeah, from that, this is the last question of the entire podcast. Okay. So it's something very generalized, again, not about the books, because these last two questions I didn't want to only talk about books. This is something for the life, the something that I can leave for audience and for myself when I'm going to complete this entire podcast. That talk about three piece of advices that you want to give. That is your mool mantra. Three or two or one. It's just I write as three because I don't know. I have this thing, make pointers about everything in life. So yeah, but you tell me, like, what are your mool mantra in your life?
Man, I'm feeling like Sadhguru, but I have also gray hair and but
We
he's
all have in the family. Look at this, dude. We all have it. We can't help it, right?
so like like on a serious note, the way I look at it, maybe this is not the only way to look at it. There could be better ways to do things or maybe live your life. One thing that is very clear to me is that you need to the only person that you can control or only person that you can judge in your life is yourself. Because the external environment or what will happen to you is something that you cannot decide on. Like what will how people would react is something that you cannot you cannot write it down or you cannot write a rule for it that this is how you have to behave in front of me. Or maybe
Great.
outcome of things is something that you cannot control. So the only thing you can do is do your job at in the best possible way and be humble about it and not expect anything out of it. It's like in simple terms, like you need to have no expectation, and you have to accept everything that comes your way. It's like no expectation, more and more acceptance. So that's the first
Okay.
part of it. uh Second part is, you have to be like very humble to everyone. Like I am a firm believer of the fact that it's all about karma. Like what you do, what goes around comes around. So you have to be very, very humble and nimble to everyone that you come across, be it a family member, non-family member, because it's just a it's the least that you can do. Like
Point.
talk to someone in a good way, or make sure that they are important in their own way, is something that you could do. And it will come back to generous way. You would never realize it, but it would always. That's the second part. And third part is, uh, man, take your responsibilities. Don't shy away from responsibilities. It is something that
Point.
people would I don't know. Like I've seen people, maybe I should not judge them, but still they would fail because they fail to take their own responsibilities. And you have to be responsible in whatever you do. Otherwise, it would always you know boil down to blaming someone else for your own follies, or blaming yourself for your own follies. But the thing is, it would be very late till the time you realize the fact that you never took your own responsibility. So these are the
Point.
three.
Point.
Maybe it's like very high, Pandu. I'm sorry for
No,
that.
no,
It's like
it's
boring
something
stuff.
very important. Like, no, it's not boring, man. I now I see things very clearly about taking responsibility plus, be humble. Then the karma is like these three things are. It just happens with everyone. Okay, I am nobody to judge on this because I follow everything in this. I feel like, if you are not, it's just a build, right? Whatever you are doing today, you are gonna
Yeah.
just see the
Sure,
results
yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
So
sure.
yeah, it's just so great. I'm so happy that I shared this knowledge. You shared this knowledge with me. I didn't share anything. I was just asking questions. So yeah, I'm so happy that it just happened. I really wanted to do it. I'm gonna start reading maybe from tomorrow only. The first book I'm going to start with, I guess, Gita only, because
That
I
would be
told my
great. Yeah.
mom to just take it out.
Yeah, that
I
would be
told my
great.
mom to just unwrap it and I will just start reading it because this is something I'm very fond of. Lately, no, not lately, but it's just been a long time in my checklist that I wanted to read it only for once. Then I will see how, because I'm somebody who likes to watch stuff rather than reading it, because I have this, because
Sure.
I am some different kind of a state. And yeah, I just like I always had this fact that the video has more impact than reading, because
Sure.
one piece of scene that you have seen, you have remember like Sholay movie after 20 years, but you don't remember mostly what you have read
So,
3 to 4 days back.
so,
Not with
so
everyone.
I, so I'll give you a
Not with everyone.
counterpoint to it. Let me complete then. So it's like
Okay.
when you look at something and you remember it, it's imagination of someone else. When you
Point.
read it and you try and create that picture in your head, it's your own imagination. So
Point.
it
Point.
helps you
Point.
broaden the way you think about things.
I agree with I agree. A developed village where the connection has is its own problems, so I cannot help it. But yeah, it's so amazing that you decided to be on my circle, and I'm so glad that you shared your experiences and knowledge. So yeah, just great. And let's wrap it up.
Thanks,
And
man. Thanks.
really amazing to be here.
Thanks, man.
Thank
It
you
was
so much.
great
Thank
being
you.
with you, and hopefully it finds the right audience. All
Yeah,
the
yeah,
best.
I just we do our thing. Let's keep it to people what they really like to choose. It's just your own thing, right?
Yeah,
Great.
man.
Great,
Hello,
see you,
great
man.
being. Yeah, see you, man. Take care.
Yeah, bye, bye, bye.
Bye, bye.